Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Virtual Railroader Academy. I am Professor Casey,
And I am Professor Dick.
and welcome to MOW 109. We are back in Railroads Online this week, and if you're not able to tell, we're working with the new track laying tools, talking about planning out your routes, how far away should you be cutting trees from your railroad, fun MOW stories along the way, like sweating rails together and welding them and all of that good stuff. We are up here at Asoken, and we're going to be laying down to the new plateau yard tonight.
And I am inspecting this bridge, which is giving me an excuse to admire how lovely this bridge looks in double tracked form.
Yeah, I purposefully did it that way. I originally had one, and I had the switch in a different spot, and I'm like, no, this is gonna look cool like this. And
It make
it's such a
it
gorgeous model.
makes it makes me think of Railroad Tycoon 2, where you would start certain scenarios with a station and maybe a bridge over a river, and then you had to lay the track from there. So this rings bells for that.
Well, I'm glad we're ringing a couple bells internally for what's probably everyone's second favorite railroad game of all time. I'm partial to Railroad Tycoon 3.
I've always been a two guy myself, but they both have their soft spots.
They do. Well,
As always, we encourage you to join in on the conversation here on Twitch while we're streaming live, or you can leave a comment after the fact and contributing your thoughts, your experience, your questions, your perspectives, your
and
lunch money.
was this a shakedown?
Well, that I realized. Well, I'm very impressed if people leave actual money as opposed to just money emojis.
This is true. So I'm just running along here, getting some track
Oh,
set.
so MOW. Let's just start with breaking down what the basic of that is. What
M
what does it stand for?
stands for maintenance of way. The way being the rails, the ballast, the easement on either side. It is everything to do with the physical plant of the railroad.
Would that include buildings like? Well, there's two categories of buildings. So we'll start with. Would that include buildings like stations, roundhouses, larger structures?
Those usually didn't have to do with MOW unless the shop forces needed new track laid into it. But largely they were those are considered facilities.
Now, smaller buildings like section houses, uh, sheds for speeders, would that be in MOW jurisdiction?
That's MOW jurisdiction. Since it's kind of their tool house. It's where they're storing all their stuff. It's their bases of operation. When you get into more remote sections of railroad. Um, I'm trying to think of like what else there is to say about that, but there's not a whole lot. Like once it, I guess the question then is like, what's a section house for the uninitiated?
Right.
And the
There's a
section,
couple of definition. Yeah, there are a couple of definitions depending on railroad too on that.
true. So I guess we'll start with what is a section house, and we'll work back to speeders and tool sheds and yada yada yada. So the section houses are railroad was broken up mile by mile, or sometimes in less dense areas, couple miles by a couple miles, and the railroad would assign a foreman or and Rudy, correct me if there's a different technical name for this, because I know I'm a section foreman's.
That's
Um,
usually correct, yeah.
I keep getting this curve wrong, and that is making me lose my train of thought. So the railroad's broken up section by section, and the section foreman is in charge of that section. They're in charge of doing track inspections weekly. They're in charge of replacing ties, spiking new bolts, or replacing ties, putting in new spikes, changing out the bolts. But they're kind of in charge of that part of the physical plant, and it's broken out, and they're in charge of that section. Then someone picks up from the next section down. I was looking at the plans for the Pennsylvania Railroad's Northeast Corridor, and there was a section of railroad that was 1 mile long but had 15 miles of track in it and some like 37 switches.
Wow.
Yeah, so sections can be kind of weird. On my ex-Pensy branch that I worked on, sections were 5 miles long.
One of the things that comes to mind for me in terms of how the definition can vary is how, for the Pennsylvania Railroad, a section house would be a would basically be a shed
Yeah,
for speeders or whatnot. But on the Canadian Pacific, a section house was an actual house. It was living quarters for crew.
I think that comes down to the remoteness of where the section is. So, like, Pennsylvania Railroad, you're going to be fairly close to your section. It's not very remote. Versus something like the Denver and Rio Grande, where you've got a section, you've got the Ozier section house. And, you know, it was a section house because of how remote it was. And it was a true bunkhouse. That's not going to work. I gotta say, laying track and trying to talk about track is quite difficult. Thought it was going to be a little bit of an easier time. So one of the next things you brought up was speeder sheds. And the speeders are pretty cool little things. And they go by 300 different names. Speeders, putt-putts, pop cars,
Fairmont.
Fairmounts. That's a brand.
It is,
But
but
I guess it's become interchangeable like Kleenex.
yeah. And then what we're doing today, so we are laying track. Would this ever have been or continue to be the function of MOW, or would that be separately contracted?
Um, Nowadays it's contracted out, at least with the short line stuff I'm working with. I can't speak for in the golden age of railroading, the golden age of steam, and uh, Rudy, maybe you know more about that than I do.
Largely railroads would have laid their own track and really would have probably had a separate track gang. Uh, it wasn't your MOW guys laying the track. It would have probably been your separate gang that was in charge of laying it and separate gang that was in charge of maintaining it. But it would have all been in-house either way. It would have all fallen under the MOW kind of banner, even if it wasn't the same crews.
And I think contract work's kind of become it's become more of a thing in recent years, than it ever has in the past. Oh,
Well, even some stuff that a railroad used to have taken care of. Uh, wow, that came attacking me. Like, re-railing after derailments. I mean, so much of that is contracted to companies like RJ Corman, and there's one with an H that I'm spacing on.
Culture.
Thank you.
You, I'm gonna say, thankfully, I've never had to deal with uh, any derailment crew.
It is a good thing to be thankful for.
I like to think so. Alright, so what I'm doing now is I'm putting in some small bridge embankments on either side of my bridge, just to give it more of that railroady-esque appearance, so that way it's not groundwork and ballast directly into bridge. There's a little bit of an embankment there.
So up here, we've got this rock wall. So are you thinking you're just gonna build an embankment wall along the rock wall?
Oh.
Because we don't really have much room between.
Yeah, no, I should have scouted that better. That doesn't work. I'm gonna need a chute down here to this. And this is why it's kind of important to scout and plan your routes. I'm trying to work a little bit off of memory of the last time I built this, way back in November, January. So route planning is important for deciding where you're going to be taking your railroad. I'm gonna want to skip
We'll
down
have,
here.
in some cases, ramifications for hundreds of years to come.
This is true.
It's fascinating to see examples of Class 1 railroading where either they're benefiting from how it was originally designed 150 years ago, such as Horseshoe Curve,
I don't know if
or
I'd
they
call
are
that one a
bottlenecked.
benefit. They are derailing around Horseshoe Curve constantly, so I don't know if I'd call
But
that a
that's a
benefit.
that's a PSR thing. That's not really the architect. The Pennsy was never running it like that.
True.
So I think that's more of how NS is running it rather than inherently how it was designed.
True.
Versus
Yeah.
something like, oh, I mean, I'm trying to think of like what's actually a poor design versus just crumbling architecture. Because I'm thinking of like the Northeast Corridor using 100-year-old tunnels, but those were never really designed to last as long as they have.
No, those have kind of
Uh,
stuck around. And I think this is gonna piss off my fans in the south, our fans in the south. But salutigrade.
oh yeah, I was just thinking it's yeah, that's a yes. Which now apparently there's plans afoot to trail it.
That
I mean,
is,
that was kind of
Allegedly.
a necessary evil, I guess.
I, I,
Yeah.
I guess, but it still stands of like, as soon as it was no longer a necessary evil, the railroads cut it out.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a long time of NS running that. Um,
What, up until the 80s, I think, right?
I think 2001.
Oh, that late, huh?
Think.
That
Um,
sounds right. Though it was like a train a day at that point.
right. Um, but there's definitely cases of where something was, and I suppose it is, in certain cases it was built that way because it's like, oh, this won't be high traffic, and then it's a matter of you're stuck with the fact that to make it have a higher capacity would be a significant investment, to say nothing of how the line side may have been further developed.
Yeah.
So yes, build your railroad carefully, and it will last for 150 years,
And think
only
ahead.
to get skunked by precision scheduled railroading.
PSR and Railroads Online when?
Um, hello to 6777 Productions. Uh, And Uncle Sean 84. 6777 says, can't stay for long. Building a new segment of track oddly makes you very tired.
Oh,
We
good. So
agree.
I'm gonna fall asleep doing this.
I was gonna
That's
say,
never. It's gonna be like one of those 24-hour streams. I'm gonna be passed out. No one else is gonna be here.
an endurance test. I wonder if anybody, I mean, that would be an interesting way of playing this game, to do it transcontinental railroad style, where you have somebody starting from, in our case, like the coal mine side, and somebody starting from the refinery side, and they're just building to a central point. That
I
sounds oddly fun.
Next week on Virtual Railroader Academy, the Transcontinental Railroad 200. Is it time for me to start dropping down already? All right, where do I want to go? I want to tie into that rock wall?
Is it time for you to start dropping down? Yes, because it goes down
Quite.
2 steps,
Okay.
3 steps. Yeah, you're gonna keep going down at this point.
Okay, so going to run this guy over towards that cliff edge there. And again, my goal whenever doing this is to kind of make it. I don't like calling it as railroady as possible, but that's not an inaccurate description of what I'm going for. I want it
It
to
is a
feel.
railroad after all.
It is. And anything can be a railroad, but I do want it to be. I want it to feel proper for what my experiences working with shortline railroading are.
So I'm reading about the D&H, the history of the Delaware and Hudson Railroad. In lead up to, because I'm reading the original history of it by Jim Shaughnessy, leading up to the wonderful new book from Garbly Publishing about the railroad's history from the late 60s to early 90s. And it it kind of evoked Railroads Online for me, because they were talking about how when they were initially building their first bits of railway and they were building the gravity railway, that they ended up building a railroad that could not handle any locomotives, with like 7.5% grades and
Nice.
ridiculous amounts of trestle work. So the first engine, according to this book, to run in the U.S. was the Starbridge Lion, and it was running for the D&H. Take that, Tom Thumb. Take that, B&O fans. Sorry, B&O fans. But so they built like a ridiculous amount of trestle work, and it sounded very precarious. Like, they talk about the first run of it, and it was very precarious, and it never ran after that first time.
Really?
Yes. So it very much sounded, and so they had to rebuild the the railroad to kind of not be um, super scary and life threatening to anybody working it. But then
Uh,
they ended up working it with horses and gravity anyway.
well,
And then eventually they went back to steam engines.
I am an expert at building scary railroads that no one would want to travel on.
So
As
a
in,
fun portion of that story, by the way, Nick, is
Oh,
so the fun portion of that story is that the engine was delivered from England double the weight it was supposed to be on the schematics.
oh, nice.
It was supposed to be a 2-ton locomotive, and it came in at 4. So they designed the whole railroad to be sufficient for a 2-ton locomotive, and they did not receive a 2-ton locomotive.
I
Nice.
forgot that detail. But that makes it make much more sense why they weren't prepared for it.
That's
They
excellent.
there's it's also one of the other things I found interesting reading that is that they ordered 4 engines,
Yes.
and They only ran the Starbridge line, and the others I don't think saw any service except maybe stationary boilers.
Correct.
So,
I mean, do you blame them?
well, I guess not after finding out that they were all overweight, so forth. Um, so funny because Stevenson, they were built. One of them was at least, if not all of them, were built by Stevenson and Company. And Stevenson gets hailed as a hero for the rocket, and presumably he was, and his valve gear. Um, but does seem like they done dirty for the DNH. Oh, I dig this trestle work though.
Well, again, remember that engine was built in 1829 too. There wasn't really a whole lot of you know, experience to build off of there yet.
Also, I thought it was
Yeah,
1826.
29.
that's
Okay,
still 29. Still not much better.
no, because I think that was before the Rain Hill trials anyway.
That's
All right,
correct.
I'm
Yes.
trying not to fall down the mountain as I do this, which is a harder task than one might think. But bringing up 4-ton engines on a railroad designed for 2 is a good point of you really got to consider your physical plants when buying engines, when laying your railroad of like, well, like how big of engines do you want to run on here? And that's important. Railroad I work, we have. Oh, God darn it! I was laying an
The
uphill grade.
physical plant beneath me fell apart.
I was laying an uphill grade to go downhill.
Oh, okay. I mean, that could have provided an interesting challenge, but
I really don't want to get stuck coming up here with Eureka's with you again and need a fourth. As
that
much
was an
as much
impressive
fun as it
day.
is. Ah, oh boy. All right, come on, guys. Third time's the charm, right? But your locomotive choices are going to determine how you lay your physical plant, or vice versa. Your locomotive choices are going to be determined by what your track can handle. At my railroad, we only have 72-pound rail at Class 3 track, so it's good for 45, but our timetable is written for 20. And we can't run anything heavier than diesel wise than a SW9. That's the heaviest thing we can run. So physical plant, laying your track, laying your route, it's important to determine what engines you can run. Thinking about your degree of curvature and all of that good stuff as I freehand track with no care in the world for degree of curvature. Uh, I like to think I have a pretty good eye for what I try and keep my curves to 30 degrees. So I like to think I have a pretty good eye for what that is. But we'll find out once more engines are in the game and see where cars start running into each other.
I think a big case of where people might be familiar with sort of the limitations of motive power based on track is 6-axle versus 4-axle when it comes to the types of diesel locomotives one can use on a particular route.
And you could usually get 6-axle over stuff where you can't get 4-axle because you have the weight distribution. Everything's spread out over more wheel sets.
I think of the famous in Canada, maybe not famous overall, the GMD1 switcher locomotives that Canadian National had, and how they were originally built with 6-axle, and in some cases that middle axle was a dummy, so it'd be A1A designation, solely to have that weight spread out for use on branch lines.
Yeah, that was a big thing with. That's why 3-axle. That's why you'll see 3-axle in places where you kind of don't expect it. I'm thinking of my local road on the oh God, what is that? Oh no, that's a corner, not a curve. Um, Thinking of I can't remember that division anymore. I can't remember that branch anymore because I just haven't been there in such a long time. Um,
Where's the branch?
um, we own it now, or well, we lease it. It interchanges in Peaburg, connects with transit. Rudy, what the hell's the name of that branch?
Beldell?
No, not the Beldell. It's the one leased from NS.
Western Secondary?
Yeah, the secondary takes 3 axle power. And it's
6.
less than, or yeah, 6 axle power, and it's less than gorgeous track.
Hmm. Uh, Garian46 says, good afternoon. And where are you guys headed to? My
We are.
friend, we are headed to greatness.
That's a much better answer than what I had. We are headed from the coal mine down to the plateau just above the waterfall. That is our destination for this evening.
Yes. The plateau, as famously discovered by the French explorer Henri Plateau.
And who says
And
railroad games can't have lore?
his he, he the boat that he used to travel the river that leads up to the waterfall below was known as the Plateau Bateau. Where my French speakers be? That was a good one. Anyway,
I appreciated that.
thank you.
Your Canadian is showing a little bit though.
Yeah, that and referencing GMD ones, I could accept these as the uh, terms of engagement.
Alright, point that vaguely
Question.
that way. Yes.
Answer.
That's my line.
So, with the new splines, have y'all tried or have y'all attempted to connect them with engine houses yet?
I don't believe they connect.
I'm finding that out just now.
Okay. Sorry, Nick. That's going away.
That's okay.
I'm trying to
I'm
get trying to get this alignment just right.
Well, I'm clearing some trees for you to make your life a little easier of figuring out if that is the alignment you wish to use.
Much appreciated. Yeah, I don't think the engine houses connect yet.
Should I put them down as placeholders anyway?
Yeah, leave them as placeholders. Maybe they'll magically connect. There we go. That's a better bridge. Yeah. Well, that is a kinky little bit of railroad right there. Alright, let's fix that.
We'll just name it Funky Bridge, and it'll all make sense.
We do need a new TBK on this railroad.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, Nick, your sight lines where you're cutting down trees are gorgeous.
Thank you.
And that is an important thing, which...
Amazing how far we have to descend along this river, because you walk it and you feel like, oh, this is relatively flat. And then when you're actually grading it, you realize, yes, but then it has these significant steps that it takes. And all of a sudden, it's not flat anymore.
No, it's not, and we're, not even halfway there yet.
So we'll have to wait to break out the Bon Jovi in a little bit.
We will, and, this is instead of following the river, we're very close to what the uh, what the original route here was on the version 1 of the Ahsokan, Mohawk, and Western. But instead of having all that really tall groundwork, I'm opting for the to hug the mountain line instead, and create a little bit more of a Croombrace and Toltec rather than a Durango and Silverton.
Which I can understand. I'm looking forward to some sort of spectacular river crossing. In fact, would it merit crossing over at an elevation, a notable elevation, and then dropping it down on the west side of the river?
I don't know. Looking at the mini map, it looks like there's more real estate on this side of the river.
True.
So I think this is going to. I don't think we're going to be crossing again.
Well, but we eventually cross to get to plateau, don't we?
We are, though I don't know what the plateau setup is like yet, since that is being constructed as we speak. And I'm sure once we run trains over this, this is subject to change drastically as everyone sees my wonderful track laying and hates me. Ooh,
No,
hello.
we will not hate you. We will just admire your the amount of confidence that you have in us as locomotive engineers and our capabilities, whether or not they actually exist.
Alright, I don't think this
Indeed.
is gonna work. Is that Skybridgey? That's not too Skybridgey, right?
No, I dig it. I saw it magically appear before me and think, dang, that looks cool. I will say that some of the piers are floating in midair, but eh, other than that, it looks great.
Oh, I don't have any floating piers.
Um, it appears different in mine.
Interesting.
Thank
Ah,
you. I'm on a roll today.
thank you. Good night. Be here all week.
Tip your Twitch streamers, which is a great time to mention that if you enjoy this kind of content and wish to support the show and its growth, we appreciate our. Sorry, I don't know the Twitch parlance. Followers, subscribers.
Subscriber.
Thank you. To those of you who have chosen to do so already, we greatly appreciate your support.
And to find out what the different tiers are, just hop into our bio, and the different tiers are laid out there. There's a student brakeman, student fireman, and student conductor.
For extra credit. The apple on the proverbial teacher's desk.
CMD, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Alright, so.
CMD062. I just laid new spline track in that spot the other day. Opted to go with a 3.5% grade in that spot to hug the river. 2.5% grade the rest of the way.
I got bit with a 3% there in the previous iteration. Which some of us remember fondly.
Indeed. I've seen a giant steel trestle ahead of us.
Oh yes, that is going up to the anthracite coal mine. If you want to follow that route and enjoy where it leads to, I think you will enjoy it very much. So the thing about the version 2 of the Ahsokan, Mohawk, and Western is that it is nearly everything's in a different spot, and there are some multiples.
Oh, that's groovy.
Right?
I dig it.
So
It's nice to have it at a slightly different location. I like this.
So on this route, there are 2 coal mines, and I want to run up there and look at it, but I also don't want to spoil it for the first stream when we head up there, because I like to keep some of that a mystery. But there are two coal mines now. There's an anthracite mine, and there is a bituminous mine. And inside my spreadsheet, different freight depots and towns, freight depots slash towns along the railroad are going to call from coal from different locations. So that'll populate a waybill and a switch list,
Super cool.
right? And coming up, I want to lay that switch different.
Hey, we get some flat land to work with here. That's nice.
Yeah, and switch left.
And we get
Laying,
to do some river running, which is also nice.
we do. So I'm gonna try and get in the new place this here, and this is gonna be the new. What were we calling this? Creek tank, creekside. Anyone
Creek
remember?
tank, I think it was.
We're calling it
Just
creek tank.
think.
Okay. I don't think I ever got that right on a train order.
Is that what this switch sticking into the ground is?
Yes.
Cool.
All right. So run this guy along. And run you to there.
Should have a relatively clear path for you.
And if we're already here, means we're not that far away from Plateau Yard. And before we get there, we should probably run down and check in with the Plateau crew and see how that construction's coming.
So far, so good.
Clockwork Angel says, hi. I did that, I
Hey.
say, hi.
What's
Yeah,
going
I'm
on,
on
Clockwork?
Squiggy doing all the building because I just can't get the freaking new track lane things to work for me. And I just got stuck on the groundwork again.
And then get some.
Bonk. Ah! You're supposed to have a diamond crossing in the middle of your passing track, right?
Sure, if you want to
Um,
confuse rail historians and make them think there was some secret branch.
Okay, so we're not just gonna be able to connect those. Oh, and I'm stuck in the groundwork. But being the host, I have the beauty of being able to spawn random engines out of the sky, call upon the gods for a locomotive, and then I can get myself out.
How are you spawning those in if they cost money?
They don't cost money. It's a developer tool,
Ah,
and they only work for and only the host can spawn them.
fascinating. Wow, that's interesting. Is that how you get unstuck? Yes.
Oh, there we go. That's more better.
I wonder if it works for. So, how do you access
Uh,
the
I hit
track construction?
G, and then track construction.
And then, are you doing 3-foot rail 1, 2, or 3?
I'm using one right now. But if one doesn't lay, then I switch to two.
Wow, this is funky.
If you didn't reset your keybinds, it's gonna be a little weird.
I don't think I did because it's like trying to get me to do a really question mark shape piece of track.
Oh yeah, that's the freeform mode. So then you gotta like adjust with. I have mine set to Z and C to rotate construction.
Left mouse button, place new point, numpad 4 and 6. Doesn't seem to be though. I'm not seeing numpad 4 and 6 doing anything. But do I have to adjust that before I click the first point?
Yeah, you have to reset your keybinds before you lay the first point.
And how does one do that?
Escape, options, controls.
Okay.
And then I set custom ones once after I did that because I didn't like the originals. Alright, so I'm running down to Plateau Yard to try and figure out where I am going to be aiming towards and what side of the river to be on.
Um, just so you know, I'm currently working on the main.
Right on.
Yep.
Oh nice, so we have our little 4-track yard over here.
Yeah. I'm afraid one of the tracks is too short.
You could always reverse all the switches. That way, instead of being right-hand switches, they're left-hand switches, and they collapse instead of collapsing down this way, they all collapse down this way.
Okay.
Yeah, it has every time I'm starting the track, it's as if I'm dragging it in from another point, completely removed from where I'm actually starting it.
Interesting.
And then when
Yeah.
I click the link, it links up, but then it wants to curve in this question mark way, and the keys, despite having reset them, don't seem to do anything.
Interesting.
Yep.
So,
We we might have to redo this section to kind of clear it up and
Oh, the iron ore
to
mine
connect.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of roughed something in to get it near where everything was. Yeah. Did you tag me in the? Where did you tag me? On the Railroads Online Facebook page or group or whatever it's called. Ow, I'm stuck in a tree. Railroads Online Facebook group. Let me take a look at that real quick.
well, while Casey is getting unstuck from a tree and looking at the Railroads Online Facebook group, I will say that I've gained in the past couple of years a whole new appreciation for what is involved with MOW. So when I'm not playing with virtual trains, my job is doing freelance filmmaking as part of Streamliner Media, and I do, amongst other things, I do videos that showcase infrastructure projects, so bridge replacement, track rehabilitation, that kind of thing. And so I've had a lot of opportunities to see crews at work um, doing a lot of things that you don't otherwise see in railroading, as far as um, relaying rail, replacing ties, uh, and it is involved. It is it's so interesting how in rail fandom we spend a lot of attention to when things are already up and running and the train's moving on the rails, but there's this whole hidden world of track projects that people don't typically see, and getting to see that has been a lot of fun. Um, Spending time in high rails, inspecting track. It's a whole other side of this industry that I suppose I knew was there, but until you spend time around it, you really don't getting a full appreciation for how much of railroading is based on the element of just making sure the tracks are still safe and functional.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot of MOW, your track project stuff lately. I've seen a showing,
Yeah, so
being a
if
fellow filmmaker, we end up sending projects back and forth to each other and
yeah,
just
so if you
checking stuff
wanted to
out.
see an example of my work, well, if you want to see samples of my work in general, you could go to streamlinermedia.com, and that shows both railroad and non-railroad work. Um, the one in particular, there's that speaks to this, that's right at the top of that page, is a project that I did for an Omnitrax property called the Georgia and Florida Railway down on the border between Georgia and Florida. No, I did not run into the band. I did run into swampland though. It's about an 80-mile line that I think they were able to raise the top speed from something like 10 to 25 through rehabbing 80 miles of track. It was a very extensive project that they did. I think it was something like 16 million total, and the company was able to do it through a public-private partnership through grant money. And so I got to spend a few days down there seeing the mostly complete results of that, and really it was a really cool experience getting to see that. And hopefully if you see the video you'll gain an appreciation for what that involved, because it's this railroad that I don't know if I would have ever heard of if I hadn't had reason to go down there and been contracted to do that work. But it serves its significance of this, that it serves a paper, I want to say it's a paper plant, um, at a fairly sizable one at that. And it's 80 miles, and that's basically the largest customer at this time. But you still, a customer is a customer, and track is track. Um, so it was really interesting to kind of see what went into that as far as having to um, add ballast and tamp certain areas down. I've learned so much about track tamping in particular. That's a whole thing in and of itself. So yes, you can see the video, and there's shots of trains, there's drone footage of track. I'm pleased with how that one turned out as a project, but I thought it was really nifty to learn more about what it took to keep a line like that, especially something obscure. Because maybe you'll see MOW videos from like Class 1 railroads and that kind of thing because that's more visible. But these short lines that could be out in the middle of nowhere or near the middle of nowhere, um, it's a whole other slice of railroading life.
I muted myself to have a sip of water, like 5 minutes ago, and I've been providing commentary as you're talking.
Oh, well, your
Um,
commentary was felt emotionally, if not heard audibly.
there we go.
So yes,
Um,
your commentary was.
yes, at this point I can't even remember it. See, I don't like how this is coming across. So really gotta shoot through here and stay on this portion, and then cut back over. Okay. Route planning. All about the route planning.
Oh. I wasn't even running that fast. I got stuck in the ground.
It's okay, I'm
Gosh
about to
darn
delete
it.
that ground.
Thank you. It's like being in grade school, and there's that version of tag. I want to say it's called Stuck in the Mud, where if somebody tags you, then you can't move until somebody else crawls between your legs. I don't know if that's still a
I've
grade school game, but
I've never heard of this.
Neither have
we,
I.
we did it at our elementary school. It was, yeah, maybe it was a 90s thing. I don't know.
We had freeze tag where you couldn't move until or if you got tagged, you were frozen in place.
Right, it was like that, but then there was a method of getting unstuck by And there may have been other variations of like maybe there was a person who unfroze you or that kind of thing. But hey, I am unfrozen now, so yay for that.
Well, I'm not. I have to summon a climax from the gods.
Hmm. The
Oh,
gods of
those.
Tori have
Ah!
answered.
Careful.
The road to success is littered with deceased climaxes.
I I hope someone clipped the flying climaxes, cause that was enjoyable. No, I don't want to delete rails. Locomotives.
I'll be sure to take care of that.
Yeah,
That's
Clockwork knows what I'm talking about with freeze tag. I'm not totally crazy, just partially.
just partially crazy is the right kind of crazy. That's how you get involved in railroading.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Okay, and bridge.
All right, y'all. I'll catch you later. 4 o'clock comes early.
Weef. Yeah, have a good night. Thanks for
Yeah.
thanks for coming out tonight.
Yeah.
Good
Thanks
night,
for
Hustler.
inviting me.
Take care,
Catch you
Hustler.
later, Hostler.
Later, everyone.
Oh, that's a legit looking bridge.
I'm quite happy with that one.
I think this is you chose a very scenic spot to cross over to with all the wildflowers.
Kind of out of necessity.
So the land climbs up here at this point.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna cross. Where do I
Again?
need to be when I?
Or
Yeah,
do you just want to run alongside the river?
I think I'm gonna cross and then run along this side. So I think this
Okay.
side's lower than that side. So I'm going to cheat and place that little bit of groundwork there to figure out where this end needs to be.
Well, it's not really cheating considering that we don't actually have surveying tools in this game.
This is true.
Can't be
And
called cheating if you don't even have something as simple as a telescope that it gives you um, readings on grade percentiles.
this is true. All right. So another bridge. And if you can't tell already, I am quite partial to the Denver and Rio Grande style with the white railing.
Oh, the
Ah,
other thing I'll say about MOW, the first time riding on a high rail is a really trippy thing. I'm sure after a while, after a while you get used to it, but the first time you're on a truck and you're going down track and you have your hands off the steering wheel, it is a little discombobulating at
were you
first.
driving?
No, no, but just
Uh,
even watching somebody else who was quote unquote driving down the rail,
Driving's freaky.
it's like, you mean you're not touching the steering wheel? Okay. And it makes, of course, it makes perfect
Oh,
sense,
yeah.
but it's just that when you're so used to being in a vehicle where the whole point is to like have your hands on the steering wheel, as we were ingrained in driving school,
Oh,
it's just kind of a different
it's so
way of
freaky
thinking.
driving one. First time I drove a high rail truck, I was sitting there with my hands on the wheel, and the MOW supervisor with me was like, "You know, you don't need to do that, right?" And I'm like, "I don't know where to put them other. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, put one on each armrest? Like, where do they
hold
go?
up, hold them up in the air.
Let me just pop open the sunroof and rest them up on the roof rack."
There you go.
Yes, it was very uncomfortable. The first time I drove. I think a high rail truck classifies it. I think you drive a high rail truck.
I would think so.
And I'm
Where are you
stuck
guys?
again.
Where are you guys building in from?
Um, that's a good question.
We are Um,
We're close to the base of the dev route to the coal mine on the plateau side.
Okay.
Um,
So the track that's here, coming up from I guess where the iron mine would have been, comes like right across the yard. Is that gonna go away, or are you leaving that where it is?
I'm running down to see because I want to try and
I
figure out
never, I
my
never realized
approach.
this was the dev route. What you
Where,
have, where the anthracite branch
yeah, that's
is.
the
I didn't
oh yeah.
realize
So
that would. Hmm.
yeah, it's weird because you have to go up then back down. Yeah, Rudy, this whole bridge setup here, that can all
Yeah.
go away.
Okay, good.
And that approach can get reworked.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's original. That's old track too. Okay.
Um, I can come in, coming down off this hill if you want.
Uh, so see where I'm coming out over here with the interchange yard.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out. I'm gonna tie that back into the main back here somewhere. I assume this is the main here along the freight house.
Yeah.
So if I tie that into the main, we also need to tie the yard over here into the main. This is the yard lead here.
Oh, and this interchange yard is gonna have to cross.
Yeah, the interchange yard is on the wrong side. For the main yard.
Yeah.
And there's no
Could
there's
that
no outlet on the
could that
other end of the
run
yard.
up like a giant yard lead and then scissor across?
You mean put a yard lead down towards the iron mine lead here
Um,
and have it like scissor across? Yeah, you could do that.
like build a lead for like I don't know, like 20 cars towards the iron mine, and then have
Yeah, could do that.
so that way then like the trains for the oh so that way like then like it really is an interchange where the um stuff coming up from the sawmill only shows up at the interchange, and then the yard job takes it over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
Take up as much real estate as you need. I'm kind of. It is no problem.
okay.
There's plenty of space up here, and where I'm coming in can always get reworked.
All right. So what's that track leading to? That's what you just put in.
I put that down for the interchange yard if that's adequate location for it.
I'm probably gonna build the interchange yard out quite a bit from there. So
Okay.
it's because we're gonna put a lead up in here and have it saw back. So I actually probably want that switch to face the other direction. I think.
Okay.
Well, the spot's not bad. I just need to face the other way. Have it curve to the right there.
Oh, cause then that ties into the yard over on the right side.
Well, I gotta. How about the yard's gotta tie in back here too somewhere? You know what, Squiggy? Why don't you tie the yard in first?
Okay.
So where that switch you just put in, you can take it back out again. I'm sorry. Tie the
Plateau
yard in
yard's gonna get
first,
reworked like 4 times, I think.
and then I'm gonna. Yeah, let's tie. Let's kill this and this. Yeah, we should tie the yard into the main first, and then tie the interchange yard in, so that way you can saw over the main into the main yard when you come out of the interchange yard.
Okay.
Did you guys get that? Cool. Everyone at home.
I
Good.
think so.
Good.
There probably needs to also be 2 entrances, I think, to this yard. What? Let me. Yeah. You know what? We are gonna do that, because you're also gonna need to be coming up from other directions with empties that has to go into that yard, right?
Yeah,
Or do you
empties are
want
gonna need
every?
a.
Or do you want everything to go into the main yard and then just have a yard job move it over to the interchange side?
Have a yard job move it over to the interchange side. Kind of like how
Okay,
we worked Schmeltopolis.
gotcha. Okay, so then I can. So it only has to have an entrance at one end to get into the yard then,
Mm-hmm.
or one direction to get into the yard, and that can be the saw-in kind of way.
And for those at home, the way the railroad is set up is down here, and gonna find a clearing. That's the sawmill, and up over there-ish on the plateau on the what is that the west side of the freight depot, just above the T, is where one of the logging camps is, and that has become its own entity of a railroad, a subsidiary. So beams, cordwood, lumber, they're all going to come up here into the interchange yard and get switched over to the outbound side to get made, or inbound outbound to get made up into trains. Going to kind of everywhere on the railroad, and this may all get very heavily reworked. Once the first time we play and we realize that it's inefficient, and that's fine. We will cross that bridge when we get there. I think the last time we built Plateau Yard on the first version, what was that? By the time we last time we played that, we were on like version 5.
Craft, 5, yeah, something like that.
So yeah, there's we have no problem changing how the railroad is laid out. All right. So we need to get to this side of the river over here-ish somewhere.
I'm going AFK. I will be back in a moment.
All right.
Why'd I eat myself off that cliff?
All right. So I'm going to give myself a point to aim for the end of the coal mine route here, and I keep getting stuck in groundwork. That's just starting to get mildly infuriating.
Only mildly.
Only mildly.
I feel like I have to tiptoe when I cross a bunch of splines.
That too.
Yep.
Those tracks are a little close together. All right, maybe we won't do that.
So, Rudy, since you're here, how scuffed do you think this connection to the main yard is? On the
Yeah.
main on this end.
Hang on one second. Let me place this line that I am trying to place.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so what I'm building now is...
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Actually, I'm gonna start that curve right as you come out. Like instead of starting at the end of the bridge, have the bridge be curved and have the curve start like way back here. That way you have a little bit of a better approach angle down there.
Yeah, I had the bridge is curved technically, but it's not as
Yeah, it could
not
be a little
enough.
better than that because you got a pretty
Yeah.
sharp point like right here.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so I laid where I am ending my coal mine route until you guys have Plateau Yard figured out.
Okay.
If you kind of head Over the little hill on the left and follow the river, you'll run into it.
Okay. The hill on the left, follow the river, and run into it. I'm gonna have to just do that because I'm not gonna be able to just like say it randomly.
Yeah, no, it's literally, there's a bridge crossing.
Okay.
And a little bit of an abutment. Alright, so now we should have to find where we left off and just follow the river roller coaster grade style. Up and down a little bit by little bit. Oh wow, we are not that far away.
Huh, that looks better.
Yes, it does.
Alright, in true roller coaster grade style. Going down a percent. Only to come back up a percent. Oh yeah, why have a level railroad when you can go up and down a bunch?
So, are you wanting the connection to come this way onto the main? Or,
No,
oh,
I'm
no.
gonna have to. Yeah, I gotta. It's gonna be a saw-in connection. I'll kind of have to try to build it out. It's gonna be hard to explain because
Okay.
of the topography here. But
Yep.
yeah, it's a bitch. I'm stuck in the track I just built.
Well, at least you just built it so you don't feel bad about deleting it.
Deleting it, and yeah.
So my big question is, I have no idea where my route from the anthracite mine comes down. I think it's over here somewhere. I have to tie that in. So that's our next task once we get connected to our... oh, I shouldn't have dropped down there. No, I should not have. Oh. Well, that's super convenient. Alright, place your bets. 1.5 down to meet. Yeah, God. I think 2% gets us there? 2.53. Ugh, I do not want to go up 3. So we're going to run that to there at 2%. We're going to delete that. I gotta say, that's one thing. These new splines are very quick to build. I think doing this last time was about 2 days of work.
Yeah, something like that.
And they're
Where are
like,
you? Where are you popping out here with your
I don't know
track?
yet.
Okay, good, because we're gonna do some realigning here real quick.
I am leaving everything alone until that's done.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta make the curve for the iron mine track here, and I think I'm gonna have to do a little bit of finagling at this end of the yard to make that happen.
Oh, that iron mine track can get cut back a whole bunch.
Oh, I did.
Okay, cool.
There's a hillside here, and I can't really go up the hillside because I make a 3% grade right out of the yard. I'm trying to avoid that.
I see what you mean.
Greg, you want to lay that lead back in there?
Sure.
All right.
Ah, gonna have to delete the bridge.
Oh, I think you have to delete the bridge.
Hmm?
I don't think you have to delete the bridge.
Oh, I got stuck.
Oh,
Oh, do you want me to come bring you an engine?
Yes, please. While you do that, I'm going to fix that piece
There's
of rail I had to.
Rudy. Oh, here. Have an engine. Now I'm stuck.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay, I have an engine. Did you get unstuck?
I did.
I gotta say, the spawning to get unstuck is probably my favorite thing right now. Okay. So you are here. Alright, and these two routes need to converge. I have no idea where these guys are going to converge next, so let's go take a look at what Rudy's doing. There's a track.
the man expect they're even sharper. Let's see here.
One of the railroads I worked for had continuous welded rail. It was where Pensy tested it back in the 40s. So was out. We had a broken joint. So was out one day with the steam engine. I think I was firing or head into brakeman that day. Can't remember. It's been so long. So I was doing that, and the contractors were out cutting the rail, stretching it, and then drilling holes and bolting it back together while we were running over it with the steam engine. And God damn it, if it wasn't a lot of fun. The flagman would stop us as we approached. We'd get permission from the foreman. Flagman would ride with us on the head end across the section of track, hop off at the other point for the where they had the where the track was owned, quote unquote, by the foreman, and would hop back off and wait to flag us as we came back in the opposite direction. And it was just so cool. Cause one of the trips we crossed over the section of rail, and you just saw them touch a torch to rope, and the next thing you know, the track is on fire as they're trying to get it to grow. It was very cool to watch and experience. One of my favorite railroad experiences. curious how this is going to come together.
Like that.
There's nothing. It's all gone.
Huh?
There's nothing there.
I know. I deleted it.
Okay. Like,
Not like that.
wait a second. Nope, gone.
Out of space. Right, hit this hillside here.
You have to start climbing up.
Yeah, I think so. Problem is these switches don't like hills. So I can't put a whole like.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You need to eyeball it to do it on the hill.
I mean, unless I put it up, unless I put this whole like intersection up on top of this plateau here.
The
I can
plateau
do.
on top of plateau.
Yeah, maybe that's the way to do this instead of trying to cram it all into the bottom of the hill.
This is going to become an annoying yard to work.
Yep.
You're the one that put the interchange yard in the or the other yard in the wrong side of the interchange yard.
I mean, you could have just built a diamond across.
You know, that's something we can do.
Makes this a hell heck of a lot easier.
We have procedural diamonds yet?
There are procedural diamonds.
I think that's what we're gonna do then.
Are you going to blow up this whole thing and just build a diamond across?
No, I'm gonna do something even cooler.
Cool. Well, I don't know about you guys at home, but I am excited to see what this even cooler is. Clock, it's a little bit of both. If I'm being perfectly honest, it could go either way. And if Nick was here, he would say that this is the railroad of optimism.
This is the railroad of optimism.
Oh, look, Nick's back.
Yes, I am.
Uh, so
What
while
are we optimistic about, though? Because I only just came back.
Rudy's building a yard.
Oh, well, that's always a reason to be optimistic.
And every yard Rudy has ever built here has always been worked beautifully. So it is a reason to be optimistic. And while that slightly terrifying thing is going on down at Plateau, I am going to be cutting trees going back railroad northbound towards the passing track. And I like to cut a nice wide right away, so that way I'm not really going through a tree tunnel.
You
The
don't
other
like
day,
the tree tunnels?
I do not like a tree tunnel. The other day I was at my railroad, was sitting in the fireman's seat, and was just chatting away as we were going through a curve, and a branch came in the fireman's window and whipped me across my chest. Hurt like hell.
Ouch.
Oh god, it was brutal. And the next week I was there, it was gone and thankfully cut back. But there's a reason why you used to see railroads cut back like 50 feet from the tracks, and that's that way you had good clear vision where you were going.
Now
And
you're lucky
that's
if I cut 50 inches back.
50 inches. It was came inside the window of the engine at 10 miles an hour. So I'm just gonna run up here and trim the trees back to the distance I like them, and especially around switches, I like to kind of clear cut. Cause from back here, I'm gonna want to see what the position of that switch is. So I'm gonna cut you guys back. And head back over here to that tangent. And see how there's a nice clear view of that switch now? So coming along, you're going to be able to really see, you're going to be able to see the position of that switch. You're going to be able to know if you need to stop. You're going to get stuck in groundwork. And you're going to have a grand old time. You're not going to be able to delete your climax. Yeah. So that tree right there probably has to go. And beautiful. We can see that from the main, and that tree's too close, so we're going to trim you back as well. Look at that. Good view of that switch. And great view of that switch from this direction as well. I'm going to run on up to here. We got a little bit of trimming here to do. Cut back a couple of these bad boys. Yeah, clock out indeed. It was less than pleasant. I think that one's got to go.
Wow. I'm impressed by all this bridge work at Plateau.
Yep.
Plateau's pretty cool.
That is a impressive entrance. So it's now the lumber mill as opposed to the smelter in the
It
valley.
is.
Which makes more sense. Having the smelter in the valley always struck me as odd. Like it was there just to be difficult.
And now the sawmill is there just to be difficult.
Yeah, but at least there's trees down there.
This is true. And I am very excited to finally run this railroad all built out. Where is the... This is the main right here.
Yes, I've just built myself into.
Oh,
But yeah.
where
Hang
are
on.
you?
We missed the gold
Here.
spike.
Oh, did you respawn?
I deleted the piece that I was built into, so give me 1 second.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Oh, I see. You're crossing.
Mm-hmm.
okay. So if you're building to there, I'm going to start vaguely aiming myself in that direction.
Yeah,
Which-
I'll switch in somewhere in here for the branch that goes to whatever is now where the iron mine used to be.
It's still the iron mine.
Okay, then we'll have to put a switch in somewhere to get to that, off of probably up on that hillside there where you're coming down from. It's not going to fit in here.
Well, that's going to work because I'm going to have a switch up in there anyway.
I feel like the placement of the iron mine is just too iconic.
It's such a nice trip. Okay, and going to be working two different sections of rail at the same time, trying to figure out where they're going to marry up. Marry up being a technical term.
Does
Uh,
this diamond actually work?
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't have frogs, it will.
Yeah, no, there's
Oh,
no
yeah.
frogs. But procedural diamonds are a thing.
Procedural diamonds are forever.
Oh God.
They are all I need to please me. Where were you planning on tying the anthracite branch?
You're looking at it.
Oh yeah, now I am looking at it. Magic MOW.
Alright, and I delete that, and I that switch left. Snap that guy there. Re-put this guy in. Wow, a long section of track there.
It's your long section of track.
Oh, I just put it in.
Okay.
Alright, so I'm gonna build kind of a home run section of railroad from from the main line to Plateau, and I think that may make it easier to kind of figure out what to do from there. Unless you guys have a different idea.
Uh, I'm all out of ideas.
Well,
Run that by me again?
I'm just going to run a home run section of railroad over to Plateau Yard from here.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Towards the
I would say.
where's the main line? Main line's over here.
You're kind of 90 degrees to it, though.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
you have to-
noticing that.
So,
Are
Yeah,
you
we're
trying to
gonna.
go plateau?
I feel like you almost want to
I think. I
your
think
main line start curving after the bridge,
I'm not sure what's
and
going on here.
rather than having your rather than having the anthracite branch curving left and down, going down grade, the anthracite branch should curve right, and the main line should follow that curve. If that makes sense.
No, that does.
Because then that'll move your alignment over.
Here, you're about to see a thing.
Ooh, hey, look,
Like seeing
track.
things.
Track in a place that makes sense for track to be.
Yeah, I'm gonna build vaguely towards where the main line comes down and try and figure out what I need to do to fix it. I think I need to cross the river in a different spot. I do. I think I need to cross the river here.
Oh, so you're going to change the whole river crossing too.
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
change the whole
wouldn't
river
hurt.
crossing. Yeah.
It looks like you have a. Looks like you have a. Your bridge for the anthracite branch built on top of a hill.
Oh, it's totally built on top of a hill.
I have no idea how much tail track 20 cars or so is, but I've built a tail track.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Here we go again.
Seriously, how did they just get stuck there? I gotta say, this, like, spamming a climax then hopping into it thing is kind of amazing to getting unstuck.
I love
Speaking
that
of,
it has to specifically be a climax as well.
That I don't think it has to be. That's just the key command that I know.
Or the different key commands for different locomotives.
I think so.
should I present an offering to the gods?
Do you need a do you need assistance?
Yes, please.
Denounce the heresy that is Lima, and you shall be granted a climax.
Where are you?
I'm at the bridge on the main you just placed.
Is that like bridge over the River Kwai?
I was
Yep.
just thinking
All
that.
right, let's try that one. Oh, look, it's a little porter.
Oh! I didn't even need to climb into it. It just pushed me up.
That's excellent. So that's how you porter. What's that do? Oh, that's a tank car.
Want to
That's a
spawn in
box
like
car.
want to spawn in like 20 cars so that we can populate something here and figure out how long this tail track has to be?
Well, they won't place.
Oh, so we want to spawn them in and we can re-rail them?
Oh, you know what? Put the old track on top of it.
Well, we can't run them on a new track yet?
No,
Well, that's stupid.
Oh, so you can't re-rail them on new track?
correct.
Oh.
Okay, so that's not gonna work. This is all gonna need a cross in a different spot. Let me know when you're ready for me, and I will come over that way. Alright, so this is going to need to leave the river, like here, and start climbing up along that wall.
It's the old facilities are going away too. Like all that stuff. I can't really use the old groundwork to build bumpers anymore either.
Yep.
Let's see, so how does this look? Okay, I don't hate that.
So it'll be fine.
I don't hate that. Well, isn't there the procedural groundwork, though?
Yeah, but I don't think it's. I think it's gonna yeet cars rather than stop them.
No, I wonder. If you need to get across the river, but we have this contour issue with the hill here. Wonder if you could Royal Gorge it. Have like a bridge come through, fall along the river through the cut, come out to the other side.
Oh, I'm not too worried.
Hmm.
I'm gonna figure out tying in the branch to the iron mine too. Haven't figured out how we're tying that in yet.
This is a tricky conundrum. Alright, so I guess we're going to want to switch left here. Yeah.
Could just use the lead. What was the yard lead for the interchange yard? I could just use that as the iron mine branch entirely.
Mm,
If you want a separate lead for some reason.
are you gonna be able to? How's the yard look?
You have to be able to get out of both yards and the main to get down to the iron mine. Probably, right?
Both yards and the main to get down to the iron. So yeah, you're gonna there's gonna be hopper trains coming through direct, but almost anything else is gonna be coming out of the yard.
Okay.
You could take a switch off of the main yard switch here and just go right with it.
Yeah, it's gonna be put a switch up on the hill here, though, isn't it? The worst idea in the world, I guess.
Yeah. What's a little bit of a roller coaster grade? Ah.
Just following instructions.
I gotta go AFK again. I'll be right back.
No worries.
Gonna go AFK myself.
This is the fun part about building railroad. Is Jesus Christ, this is not gonna work.
That's the fun part.
Oh no! No, that worked. Alright, I have no idea what the grade is there. But it worked.
Yeah, this one's gonna be fun. Let's see.
And running this railroad for the first time is going to be challenging, to say the least.
That makes us a 3.5% grade coming down into the yard on the mine or on
Oh.
the main yard.
Ow.
Because you're coming right down the side of that hill. I wish I could figure out getting the switches to give you gradient. 'Cause if I can put these
I've
two
been-
switches on a grade.
I've been free placing them.
Okay. Good, you. Alright.
And not letting them snap to anything.
How do you do that?
You can't choose a gradient when you're doing it, which is the unfortunate part.
Okay.
Hang on, let me just tie in this last piece of railroad right here. And then I'll run over to you. There is a short section of 5% railroad on the main line.
God.
It's literally a vertical kink between a switch and a bridge.
Okay. Sure.
That's getting laid differently.
This sounds safe.
Take a look at that, folks. 5.5% railroad. That is what we in the industry call no bueno.
It automatically lays the switches flat, even if the groundwork is sloped. That's what I can't figure out how to do.
Yeah, that's why I don't slope the groundwork and just let it conform to the terrain. And it gives you that's a better transition there. Alright, so where do you want it?
I want to put a switch in here, but it just see lays a switch in flat on slope groundwork. It's not helpful.
I gotcha.
That's what I'm trying to figure out is how to drop.
It
I
needs to be
need
a
two
switch.
switches in here back to back, basically.
Right. Alright, that should be a slope switch.
That is not
And
a
that's
flat
gonna
switch.
make that
Yeah, that's the problem I'm having. The flat switch.
Oh no, it's
I'm back.
1.5%.
What?
That laid at
What did I miss?
1.5%.
The switch did?
Yeah. I think the switch did lay at a grade.
No, it didn't. It laid it flat.
But it's a 1.5% grade from where the switch used to be down to the main. Oh, but I see the problem.
Yeah, exactly. I'm having all kinds of issues here. What I'm gonna do is I have to put a piece of track in just to
Flat
get the
and then
climb in.
up and then yeah.
Figure out a climb there.
Could
Probably
the
gonna be about 2.
switch come off of? Oh no, but the main needs to tie back. Yeah. Yeah. I see the problem.
Actually, what I really need to do here is put another switch in to handle the iron trains coming off the main, which means I gotta put a switch here. And I gotta put a switch in over here.
This is some serious earthwork you've got here at the junction.
Me or Rudy?
Yeah, what the hell?
You, between the anthracite branch and the main.
It's a little bit of earthwork.
Is there a particular reason you want to have that tie-in outside of Plateau Yard rather than have them all leading to the yard?
Plateau is a little complicated.
Oh,
We're currently struggling to get the main and the iron ore mine tied in.
uh,
So if there's one less thing that needs to happen down there, there's one less thing that needs to happen down there, and it railroads would frequently do that. If it could simplify something, they'd put a switch in a weird place just to do that.
makes sense.
But I wonder, do we need the main like right here?
All right, hang on. Why don't we swing the main over and make it cross the yeah. I'm gonna make the main cross the river here in the yard. So you're not coming down that giant embankment with a track.
Okay.
Cause that's what's killing us here. The main we're here. Bang this back just a little bit further. Main. Came that way.
Okay, so blowing this back yet again with the ye old demolish tool. So the main's going to be on the other side of the river, correct?
Yeah, I just built myself into track work again.
Would you like a
No, I'm good.
locomotive?
I just deleted the track work.
Okay.
It's always the last piece I'm placing, so it's just.
Curious. I'm looking forward to seeing this come together. Well, I was hoping that we were going to be able to take a run up to the up to Ahsokan tonight, but looking at the time, that doesn't seem that likely, as we are coming up on our 2 hour end of our lecture. 2 hours long. Don't want to keep you guys held in class for later than you need to be. Do you have anything to plug tonight, Nick?
I don't believe I do.
No great train layouts coming up?
Not this weekend. I'm out of town for a little while, so it will probably be a few weeks yet. But as I mentioned earlier, if you want to see an example of uh, maybe not MOW, but well, a little bit of MOW and track work in real life, then check out streamlinermedia.com and you could see some of the projects that I've done for actual freight railroads and short lines, showcasing their infrastructure projects.
They are very cool videos, so I do recommend you check them out. Very cinematographic, or cinematographic. I don't know. They're very pretty looking. You should watch them.
Filmic.
Very filmic. Definitely take the time and watch them. And you know, you may pick up a little something along the way. Be sure to
As
check us
you
out on our YouTube page for all of our archive streams to catch up on all of the backlog of classes. We're getting close to getting into the 200 level courses, so if you miss any of the 100 level stuff, check it out on YouTube. Like us on Facebook. Stay up to date with all of our latest news, and you'll find out when we're streaming. It is the summer. Nick and I are on vacation quite a bit, so we may not be as regular with our streaming. We may be doing back-to-back weeks and skipping 2 weeks or what have you. I don't know. We're still working out the August schedule. So make sure you like and follow us on Facebook to catch all of that info as well. That's all I have.
until next time, this is Professor Nick.
I'm Professor Casey, and this was the Virtual Railroader Academy, MOW 109. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and have a good night.
Good night.